Now, like always, I'm gonna do a disclaimer here. I do not represent Poly. I'm not a recruiter for Poly. I'm not anything with Poly. I'm just simply stating my opinion from my experiences with Poly trucking. So if you have any kind of issues with Poly, or if you have questions or anything like that, I strongly encourage you to contact Poly to ask them those questions, because they're the ones that are going to have the better answers for you for sure. And just remember that this video is just, it's just my opinion. It's just a driver. I just work here. I appreciate y'all.
Please call the medic. This beat came to me on a stretcher. In the lab, I step to the mic and feel like I'm Dexter. I'm a man, dark world, but I'm still shining like treasure. Yeah, I got joy like ha ha ha. Wait, and I can't wear smiles, that's fake. Then I'm between love and strong. Hate clock says no time for mistakes. Ring the alarm, sirens go off, but I'm calm. My life resides in his palm. Submit to my pops, respect for my mom. Honor them both, so my life will be long. Third time, is the charm of the third strike. Had to.
What's going on out there, drivers? Welcome to Trucking with Old Snapper. I'm Old Snapper. See that truck over there in the fuel island? It's got one of those super sleepers on it. Got the air conditioning in the roof, satellite TV. It must be nice. At the door on the back. I love it. I don't like that all white. I don't like it all whited out. That seems to me like it'd get dirty too much, too easy. But it's my dream to own one of those one day. I may be old and retired by the time I'm able to buy one, and it's sitting in the yard as a yard ornament, but I'm gonna have one of them trucks one day. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff that us YouTubers like to say. It's going to be an update on Poly trucking and a possible, not 100% certain yet, but a possible change coming to Old Snapper. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. Poly trucking, been here a while now. Not a long time, but I've been here, what, August, September, October, about 7 months I've been here. I'm pretty happy with Poly for the most part. I've had some bumps in the road, which I'll talk about here in a minute, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with Poly. We get paid by the hub mile, so I mean, I literally get paid for every single mile I drive. I enjoy that. They don't bother us, they don't micromanage us. I really enjoy that. I do not like being micromanaged. They treat us really well, you know. I mean, it's of all the companies out over the years that I've worked for, the top three companies that I've worked for since I've been driving would be Tyson Foods, which, you know, they make chicken and all kinds of stuff, you know, Creek Carriers, and Poly Trucking. Those would be the top three companies of everybody I've worked for. If a driver was to approach me and they're wanting to know, hey, give me 3 companies I can check into, those are the 3 companies I told them to check into. You know, if you're not happy where you're at or whatever, you're wanting to leave for whatever reason, and you're a company driver, not talking about a lease driver, not talking about owner operator, none of that. When you're a company driver, I would tell you, hey, take a look at Poly Trucking, take a look at Creek Carriers, take a look at Tyson Foods. Those are the 3 best companies that I've worked for. I'm not saying they're the best out here, because I know Walmart's pretty good. AutoZone's supposed to have a pretty good fleet, but that I've worked for. I've never worked for AutoZone. I've never worked for Walmart, so I can't say firsthand what those fleets are like, right? And if I had to rank them in any particular order, I would probably say Tyson Foods would probably be number 1, with Poly number 2, and Creek Carriers number 3. Here's the only reason that Poly's not number 1 on my list. The only reason Poly's not number 1 would be equipment. I think Tyson, and it's been a while since I worked for Tyson, but I think Tyson had a little bit better equipment. APUs on the trucks, refrigerators in the trucks, all that kind of good stuff, you know. So, but as far as pay goes, insurance, the way we're treated, all that, if Poly stepped their game up on equipment just a little bit, they would move past Tyson, in my opinion, in my personal opinion. Now there's some places where Poly lacks that they could improve drastically. One is there's no showers or washers and dryers at the plant facilities. But you got to remember that Poly's not a traditional trucking company. You know, they make they're part of another company that makes trash bags. You know, that you can't really compare them in that aspect, because they don't, you know, to a driver, we live at work basically. You know, we spend more time at work than we do at home. So there's a lot of little things that we look at. It kind of sucks, like when you're in Grand Prairie and you get stuck at the yard, if they're working on your truck or something and you're there a couple days. So there's no shower, there's no washers and dryers. So your clothes are stacking, your dirty clothes are stacking up. You start feeling kind of homeless because you ain't had a shower in a couple days. But you're gonna pick up a load. Hopefully you got enough time to stop somewhere and get a shower so you don't walk into the customer smelling that way, because you ain't had one in a couple days. That's the only thing as far as driver comforts, you know, that I could say they'd really step their game up. That, maybe mix in some Kenworths or something. You know, we have a large portion of internationals, and well, it's all internationals and Peterbilts, but we got a large portion of internationals. And these internationals are built just like the Pete's here at Poly. They're designed from the frame in, they're exactly the same. Same motor, same everything. International just doesn't produce the quality. They don't produce the quality parts. They don't produce the quality that some of these other trucks do. That's why internationals are cheaper. They're the cheapest truck you can buy is an international. A good example of that is I was looking at used trucks a while back, and I was looking at this company that sells used trucks, and the down payment on an international through them, like a 2019 International LT, was $4,000, right? For a 2019 Kenworth, relatively same miles and everything, the down payment on it was $10,500. That's the difference, and that's why a lot of these companies they'll buy a few internationals, because it lowers their overall cost of equipment, right? Most companies mix it up quite a bit where international's not their main truck. They'll have a few internationals because it lowers their cost of equipment, but they tend to not have a lot of them. And a lot of companies use internationals more on a local aspect. They use it somewhere because it's going to break down more often, so it's in a position that it can be worked on easier, rather than over the road where it could break down in the middle of North Dakota. Kind of the general difference there. Poly has been really good to me. I mean, I really appreciate the driver supervisors have been awesome. The safety manager has been awesome. They don't, like I said, they don't bother us. Really good company. We get to pick our own loads leaving the plant. Now lately that hasn't quite been all that great, and I'll get into that here in a second too, but it's still nice to at least kind of feel like I have an option, whether I have an option or not, right? All right, now let's get into the bumps in the road that I've had here recently, all right, at Poly. My last time going home was kind of rough. There was a bit of a mix-up and confusion between me and dispatch, and I was trying to get to the house. And mind you, I had been out, oh man, just off the top of my head, I didn't go home from before Thanksgiving till the beginning of February. I stayed out from before Thanksgiving till the beginning of February. So when I was ready to go home, I was ready to go home. Like, I didn't want to fool around. I didn't want no kind of problems. I just wanted to go home, and I wanted to spend a full 7 days at home, away from the truck and everything. You know, I just wanted to be at home, left alone, right? I parked my truck at the plant in Houston. We have a plant there in Houston. That's where I parked my truck at. And then I go home from there. I live 3 hours south of Houston. It's 3 hours from the plant to where I live. So I don't know, I ended up kind of delayed a day from when I expected to be home, which kind of messed me up on a couple of plans. And then I told dispatch that I would be back on Friday because they were sending me down there under a load. And because I ended up delayed getting home, I ended up only actually taking 5 days off instead of 7. So it kind of frustrated me because I had been out so long, and then I had to rush to get some things done. Because as y'all drivers know, we spend so much time gone that when we go home, the honey-do list that we got at the house, It's massive. You got to get it done. You got to get everything done at home. You know, and I had a lot of things I had to get done at home, and I shortened up my time doing it. So it kind of messed me up. And then I came back to work on Friday evening because I said I would. I didn't drive very far. I think I only drove a couple 100 miles that night, but I did come back to work when I said I would come back to work, because that's what I said I would do. Got a little frustrated going home, so like I sent an email out. Well, first I had talked to the driver supervisor, and then I sent an email to, I guess would be his supervisor. You know, there's a lot of supervisors here. And everything got squared away, and I got home. The dispatcher called me at the house, and he did apologize because he was kind of mixed up too. He didn't quite understand the way it worked for me going home since I park at Houston. I think he thought I actually took my truck and trailer home, which I don't. I leave it at the plant in Houston. Not that I can't, it's just where I live at, there's not a lot of freight going in there, there's not a lot of freight coming out. So it would not be beneficial to Poly for me to take my truck home. It would cost them money, because more than likely I would have to empty out in Houston, drive home that couple 100 miles, and then drive the miles back, burning all that fuel and all them extra miles on the truck, and it would just not be beneficial to Poly. And it's easier. I always thought it would be easier going to the plant, you know, because that's our plant. It shouldn't be hard to get there, but sometimes it is. It depends on where you're coming from, I guess. And that's something I haven't learned yet, where to put myself when I'm trying to get there. But I figured out I don't think Grand Prairie is where to put myself when I'm trying to get there. A driver that had been here a while told me, he said, man, anytime you want to go home, just come here. He said, I used to have a buddy that used to work here that lived down there, and he would come here and grab a load going to the Sam's Club in Dayton, Texas. I thought, great, you know, so no problem. That'd be freaking awesome. I don't know, maybe they've got that on the outside fleet, but I haven't hauled a load to Dayton, Texas since I've been here, and we may not be hauling that on the company side anymore. But I know that trying to get from Grand Prairie to Houston can sometimes be a little bit tricky, be a little bit difficult, and that created a little bit of fluff there. Now I think I messed up by emailing my boss's boss, and I'm gonna tell you why. We don't have a whole lot of interaction with the office people, but we do, like when we need a load, or if we need something or whatever, we have a little bit of interaction with them. I've had a couple of interactions like with dispatch and different people at the office, and I can tell a definite difference in the way they deal with me. It kind of bothers me a little bit, because it's like, if someone got in trouble, I didn't mean for anybody to get in trouble, kind of thing. You know, I was just frustrated and ready to go home. But I can definitely tell a difference. Like when dispatch called me for the load I'm on now, you know, she was like, we got a load on Monday and a load on Tuesday. She was very dry, very to the point. No, you know, and I kind of cracked a joke a little bit. I was like, huh, I'm gonna have to get off the West Coast, man. This West Coast freight's sucking. Nothing, crickets. I had another issue where I was trying to get a bobtail pass, and I got a very formulated response back. This is the protocol, do this, this, and this. It was very, very formulated. So, I mean, and I may be overthinking it, because as a driver, we tend to do that. But it seems like they're dealing with me a little different, which makes me feel like maybe I should have just ate it and not said anything. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, because that's just the way I felt from it, right? And as a driver, y'all know that we drive down the road all day long thinking about whatever. A little bitty problem can become a really big problem in our minds, right? It may not be anything, but to us it turns into something. And that's why a lot of times drivers will quit a company, or they'll leave a company, and it might be over the smallest thing. Because I've heard office people at companies before, like, why is he quitting over that? It's not a big deal, we can fix that. But what office people, or what we call behind the walls people, what behind the walls people don't understand about a driver, probably 60% of keeping a driver at a company is psychology. It's psychological, all right? And you have to understand the psychology of a driver. We got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 hours a day that we're working, right? We're driving down the road we're thinking all day long. All right, naturally it's human nature to think about negative things most of the time. I mean, it's hard to train yourself not to. I've tried, and I'm steadily working on myself not to think negatively, and it's something that's really hard. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, Jocko Willink, and whole bunch of people trying to better myself, but I still tend to do that. I still tend to think negative, and I've talked to other drivers that do the same thing. If a conversation's off, if something didn't go right, if our interaction at the last shipper receiver sucked, a car cuts us off in traffic, you know, now it might be little, but we'll think about it so long that it becomes something big, and to us it's a big deal. By the time we call somebody, email somebody, or talk to somebody, to us the world's crashing. Now with an office, when a person works in an office or they work a regular job, they got so many things going on throughout the day, they have so many interactions, that whenever they have a bad interaction with somebody, 20 minutes later they generally don't remember it because they've had 5 more interactions since then. As a driver, our only interactions when we get fuel, or maybe if we run into a driver for a couple minutes, but for the most part we don't have interactions like that. So something can happen yesterday and we're still thinking about it today. I mean, it's tricky, and my heart goes out to trucking companies, because it's really difficult for them to understand that. Unless they've been a driver before, it's really hard for them to understand that and understand that mentality, you know. And another thing is, I mean, it's just too easy to change companies. You can change companies in the time it takes to do a 34-hour reset. And so, I mean, so a lot of times by the time a driver gets upset with what's going on and decides, you know what, I'm out of here, by the time the company figures out that driver's quit, he's already in another truck at another company. They never had a chance to fix it, you know. And a lot of times that's what happens. I do encourage drivers to always talk to your supervisor if something's wrong, or you feel like something could have been done different, or you feel like you're getting done wrong. I don't know if I would take it above that. I don't want to tell anybody wrong, but I wouldn't take it above that. I won't be going above that with any problems I have anymore, you know, because I think that might have been the wrong way for me to handle that at Poly. The load situation, for some reason here lately, when they call, there's only 1 or 2 loads available, most time 1. And man, this last week has absolutely sucked. I mean, sucked. When I came out of the house, I came out with a load coming to Henderson, Nevada. Now I put myself on the board a couple days early, but I ended up with a load out of Henderson, Nevada, going down to Tolleson, Arizona, going to Costco. 300 miles one way. All right, short run, like crap. And then 300 miles coming back. So I ended up with 600 miles. So I put myself on the board. I emptied out at Costco down there on Thursday. I got back to Henderson on Friday. But on Wednesday or Thursday, I put myself on the board for Monday. And the reason being is I figured, all right, well, that gives me like 3-4 days here, 5 days, whatever. That gives me a few days here where maybe there'll be more choices and I can get out of this area, get into a better area. Freight might be slow out here. There's no telling what the deal is. As a driver, we don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, right? Well, they called me on Friday and they were like, okay, we got a load Monday and a load Tuesday. One goes to Buckeye, Arizona, one goes to Tolleson, Arizona. I was like, crap. Both of them 300-mile runs, you know. So I'm on the board like 4 days early and still getting this little, and it's the only choice I got. And if they call me, I'm gonna take a load. That's the way I function. I do not function any other way. I know that they need to cover those loads just like they need to cover the 1,500-mile run. So I'm gonna take it. It hasn't really been all that favorable for me. You know, you set for 2 days and then you take a 300-mile run. No, so you got 2 days of set and 1 day of running. You put the 3 days together, it's 100 miles a day. That, you can't make a living doing that very long. Now that can be a little rough. Poly, overall, I'd give Poly 4 stars, you know, for the most part. I've had some issues, but you're gonna have issues no matter where you work at. You're gonna have issues no matter what company it is out there. Nothing's perfect. You work through it. I'm working through this, and that'll be just the way it is, right? So Poly, I would still suggest them. Great company, all that good stuff. Now on to the changes that may be coming. As some of y'all know that are close to me, you know, I have planned on buying a truck or working towards buying a truck or doing a purchase deal or something I've been researching. There is a possibility, not 100% yet, but there is a possibility that I may be going to go do a purchase on a truck, and it's going to shock everybody how all that works out. If that works out, and if it does, I will update y'all at that time as to what I'm doing and where I'm at and all that kind of good stuff. Now I will say this, I don't expect and I don't want anybody to follow me. I know some people follow YouTubers and stuff like that. Do not do that, all right? Because I have a certain goal, and that's my plan and that's my goal. You may not have that certain goal, and you may not have that certain plan. So it may screw you up if you do something like that. And as all of y'all drivers know that have watched me for any period of time, I've always been honest for the most part, as much as I can, right? When I was at Crete, I told the good and the bad. I put out bad videos as much as I put out good videos about Crete. You know, I wanted people to know that we're coming there exactly how the cow ate the cabbage. Same thing at Poly. If you're coming to Poly, I want you to know, hey, got good, got bad. This is the good, this is the bad. You know, that way you're 100% prepared for what you encounter when you get to Poly. When you get to Poly, and if something goes wrong, you say, man, I remember when Snapper went through that. I already knew that kind of thing happened. You know, and this is how he dealt with it. So I'm gonna try to deal with it this way. On a purchase deal, it's a different kind of trucking. It's a different kind of different way of doing things. And I would ask that don't say, hey man, that looks like a good idea, Snapper's doing that, I'm gonna go do that. It's a little bit different. I don't advise following anybody who's buying a truck. I don't care what company they're at. If they're buying a truck, it might be fun to watch them and stuff like that, but don't go down that road unless that is your goal in trucking. You understand what I'm saying? Because I don't want to see anybody, you know, jump on that and then end up hurting themselves, or hurting themselves financially, or hurting their family financially, because they didn't have that goal. All right, so, and keep that in mind. But if that comes about and I do go to purchase that truck, I will talk about it and kind of put it out there, you know, and y'all can kind of follow me on my journey as I work towards a business, because that's my ultimate goal. Now I don't have a goal of having like 3 or 4 trucks. I have a goal of just being me. My ultimate goal is a truck, trailer, my own authority, doing my own thing. That's my ultimate goal, just myself. But I'm thinking of starting out that direction, and I hope y'all will stick with me and kind of follow me through it. And I look forward to putting that out there, and maybe it will help some of y'all if some of y'all are thinking of going that route in your career as well. You never know. I do want to give a big thank you to my driver supervisors here. They have been awesome. I want to give a big thank you to their supervisors, or their supervisor above them. I don't know if they want their names out there on the internet, so I'm not going to mention their names. But they know who they are. If they see this video, hey, man, y'all have been awesome. And whether I go or I stay, you know, I really appreciate all that y'all do for me. I will say this also, that my recent problems that I've had are not the reason that I'm wanting to do what I'm wanting to do. It's just, it's kind of an opportunity came about at about the same time, so it just looks that way. But it's something that I've been thinking about for a couple of years now. You know, so I advise anybody, if you're going to go into business, put plenty of thought into it, put plenty of research into it. Make sure you've got at least a pretty good idea, some kind of plan in mind, a goal for yourself. And that's what I got, you know. So if I go that route, that's what it is. I appreciate all y'all for stopping by. I appreciate all y'all that support the channel, support me and my endeavors, and try to keep up with what Old Snapper's got going on, man. I know it can be a roller coaster ride sometime. Remember, we are all family out here, even if we are a little bit dysfunctional. So try to be kind to one another. You never know what kind of day that other driver's having when you see them and they're not in a real good mood. I know I get in bad moods. You run into me at the wrong time, I'm liable to cuss you out or holler at you, or ain't no telling if it's one of them kind of days. But I do appreciate all of y'all. Y'all stay safe and keep trucking.
That's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I came to play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me. Then I double up again under their nose. None of them cold, they just got lucky but never adapted. So I'm 10-1 if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close. I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke. I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where. I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious.